Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about certain specific features of caste system. In the last session, we had discussed about certain perspectives, different perspectives given by thinkers like Ghure, M.N. Srinivas, Louis Dumo, Andre Bitaille, and Dipankar Gupta. In today's session, we will look at some of the features. We will be crystallizing the features. Many of these thinkers talked about multiple features, multiple dimensions. So we are trying to crystallize it here. We put all these things together, and we'll also see how these features are also undergoing change. Caste system is not completely static; it is dynamic. Things are changing. Our society is changing. So the caste system is also changing over a period of time. Might be becoming less significant in certain areas, or it might be taking up some new forms. It might be taking up some new associations. So in this session, we will be understanding these dimensions. So we'll start with it. And one thing before I start, there can be certain overlap with things that we have already covered in perspectives. So whenever there is an overlap, it is good that we will be revising the thing again and again. So first thing, when we discuss the features of caste system, G.S. Ghure, he had talked about caste system in details. He had crystallized the features of caste system. So what are some of the features of caste system as per G.S. Ghure? Now Ghure had given some 5-6 features. He's saying that caste system, it involves the segmental division of society. That means the society is divided into segments. Smaller groups, they form part of the society. Now these segments, they will have their own social life, they will have their own lifestyle. Now if you are part of a particular caste, your lifestyle will be different than someone who is part of another caste. And membership to these segments, it happens through birth. So they're basically hereditary in nature. So once you're born in a particular caste, you will be part of that caste. And these are all closed systems. Apart from that, these segments are mutually exclusive. If you are part of one particular segment, you will not be part of another segment. If you're part of one group, you will be part of that group. You cannot be part of two castes at the same time. Second thing he's saying is there's a hierarchy. Not only is the society divided into segments, but these segments are also in hierarchy. Some castes are considered higher in the hierarchy, some castes are considered lower in the hierarchy. So each caste is allotted a specific status in that hierarchy. Third thing he's saying, there are a lot of restrictions when it comes to exchanging of food. There are a lot of restrictions in the social discourse. The way people interact with one another, all these things is regulated by different kind of rules and regulation. Exchange of food, drinks, they are regulated. There are different kind of civil and religious disabilities. Segregation of individual is there. For example, when it comes to common public services, for example, drinking water facility, bathing facility. So access to all these things might be regulated. A member who is from the untouchable caste, who is considered untouchable, might not be allowed access to these areas. So different kind of civil religious disabilities are there. Entry into temple was also restricted. When it comes to occupation, unrestricted choice of occupation is not there. Caste and occupation, there was a linkage. Your occupation will be decided on the basis of your caste. So whichever caste you are born in, it will decide what kind of occupational choices you have. Last thing, restrictions on marriage. Caste endogamy was quite prevalent. So whichever caste you are born in, you have to marry within the same caste. So according to Ghure, these are the major features of caste, 6 major features of caste system. Bugle talks about 3 major features of caste system. What are these 3 features? Firstly, occupations. They are hereditary in nature, and there is interdependence when it comes to exchange of goods and services. So occupations are hereditary in nature. So you are born in a particular caste, so you will take up occupation of that particular caste. You cannot change your occupation. So once you are in that caste is responsible for producing certain goods and services, so you will be producing those goods and services. Then what do you do about those things that you require for your daily survival? So you will accept those things, or you will get those things from some other caste which is producing those goods and services. So let's say here is one caste, here is another caste. X produces, let's say A, Y produces B commodities. Now they will be exchanging the goods. So X might give A to Y, Y might give B to X. So because of that, there is interdependence. Occupations are hereditary. Because of that, there is interdependence as well. You are not producing all the goods and services. You only produce certain goods and services. Others will produce some other goods and services. Also, he's saying there is hierarchy. Certain castes are considered higher in the hierarchy, and certain castes are considered lower in the hierarchy. Apart from that, there is always a repulsion. There is always a separation between those which are considered pure, those which are considered impure. So there is always a separation. Certain castes will be considered pure, certain castes will be considered impure, polluted. So there is a repulsion. A distance has to be maintained between pure and the impure. So according to Buglia, these are the features of the caste system. Hereditary occupation, interdependence, hierarchy among castes, and mutual separation, mutual repulsion between pure and the impure. All these 3 things Louis Dumo is also considering, but Louis Dumo reduces all these 3 things to only one thing. Only one principle can be used to explain all these 3 concepts. He's saying that the fundamental concept here is binary opposition of pure and impure. From that, you can understand all these things. So pure and impure, they are opposed to one another. That is the fundamental principle. So certain castes are considered pure, certain castes are considered impure. So there has to be separation. How this separation is maintained? In the form of marriages. So marriages will take place within the same caste. So purity levels are maintained. Second thing, there is interdependence. You are exchanging goods and services. But the exchange is also in such a manner that the pollution purity is kept intact. That means the exchange will be such that the purity levels will remain intact. Pollution levels will also remain intact. For example, a barber will cut your hair. In this process, he's cutting the hair and he's collecting the hair from you and he's moving out. So you are becoming pure. But the barber who is collecting your impurities is becoming impure. The washerman, he's washing your clothes. He's becoming impure. But since your clothes are now clean, you are pure. So the way these occupations were there, the way goods and services were exchanged, purity and impurity remain intact. So first thing was separation. Through marriages, you are ensuring this. Second thing was occupation, interdependence for goods and services. There also pollution purity is maintained. The third thing here, there is hierarchy. How the hierarchy is there? Again, on the basis of purity. Those who are pure, they are having superior purity. Those who are less pure, those who are impure, those who are polluted, they are having inferiority. So hierarchy is also on the basis of purity. More the amount of purity, you are higher up the scale. More the amount of impurity, you are lower up the scale. So Louis Dumo's caste system, or his conception of caste system, his perspective of caste system, can be reduced to one statement: binary opposition of pure and impure. Whatever is pure is higher up, what is impure is lower up. Pure and impure, they have to be kept separated. Caste endogamy is one mechanism, and goods and services are exchanged in such a manner that purity levels are intact. So these were some perspectives related to the different features of caste system. What we will do is we'll put all these things together at one place. It will be easier for us to understand. So what are some of the common features of caste system? The first thing is hierarchy. caste system has hierarchy that is there, but who is at the top, who is at the bottom, or what is the exact hierarchy? Sometimes there can be changes as well. But in most of the places, you'll find Brahmins are at the top, and those who are considered untouchables are at the bottom. In the middle, there can be a lot of variations. Now, different thinkers again, they have given different perspectives about it. Some thinkers, for example, Srinivas says that there can be castes which are not at the top when it comes to ritual hierarchy, but they might be higher when it comes to the secular hierarchy. They might be dominant even if they are not ritually the purest. For example, he finds out that in the village Rampura, when it comes to the ritual dimension, the Brahmins are at the top. They are considered to be the purest. Purity levels will be highest among the Brahmins. But the Okaligas, they are the dominant caste. They are the ones who hold the land, and they are the ones who have the greater say in the social discourse as well. So Brahmins might be ritually the purest. Okaligas might be lower when it comes to purity, but they are the ones who are dominant in that region. Louis Dumont looks at hierarchy from the perspective of pollution purity. Certain castes are considered to be pure, certain castes are considered to be impure. On the basis of pollution purity, there is gradation. One thing has to be noted that over a period of time, the ritual dimension of hierarchy might be becoming less significant. The other secular parameters, for example, wealth, power, these things are becoming more important. Caste-based occupations. Now, on the basis of your caste, there can be occupations. The occupations are also graded. For example, certain kind of occupation related to specific caste, for example, manual scavenging, tanning, they might not be considered respectable. Certain occupations are considered respectable. So occupations are also graded in hierarchy. And caste and occupation, there is some consistency over there. But one thing here as well, not necessarily always this was followed. There are instances in which people have also changed their occupation. There used to be certain occupations which were open for any caste. For example, trade, commerce, army service, agriculture. Generally, there was a flexibility. Anyone from any caste can be part of these services. So occupation gradations might not be as concrete as it is made out to be. Also, there are examples in which non-Kshatriya people, they have ruled. And some thinkers say that the Nandas were the last Kshatriya rulers. After that, India was not ruled by Kshatriyas, or major parts of India were not ruled by Kshatriyas. So we have had non-Kshatriya rulers. Ideally, it should have been the Kshatriya as per the caste system. Endogamy. Endogamy is one of the most significant feature of caste system. Marriage takes place within the caste. And because of that, these caste boundaries have also remained intact. Apart from caste endogamy, there are other rules as well. For example, Gotra exogamy was also there. You have to marry within your own caste, but you should not marry within the same Gotra. Hypergamy has been allowed. You have mentions of hypergamy. Hypergamy means upper caste men can take wives from the lower caste. But generally, there were restrictions to pratiloma. Hypogamy, pratiloma. That means the female is from the higher caste and the male is from the lower caste. So restrictions to hypogamy used to be there. Because of endogamy, caste boundaries have remained intact. There are different rules and regulations governing exchange of food. In the previous session also we had discussed this, how gradation can be on the basis of exchange of food. Twice born caste will be at the top. Then there will be those castes from whom the twice born caste can accept pakka food that is cooked in ghee. Then there will be castes from whom the twice born caste will not accept food but can accept water. Then those castes from whom food will not be accepted. Then those castes whose touch might be considered as polluting. So all these rules and regulations governing exchange of food have been there. Smritis, they will talk about the rules for interdining. Kaccha and pakka food, there were many restrictions. Pakka food, keep in mind, these are the food which is basically prepared in ghee, the rich food. Apart from these features, there are also different religious and civil disabilities. Schools, wells will be different. Apart from that, the roads can also be different. There will be restriction on usage of roads. Temple entry was restricted. Participation in different festival fairs were also restricted. In some places, riding of horses. The lower caste are not supposed to ride horses. And I've told you before as well, these things are prevalent now as well. Entry to temple is restricted. Look at it from the perspective of female. Females are also not allowed to enter temples. Louis Dumont's concept of pollution purity. Everyone faces some extent of untouchability. Females face some amount of untouchability. They're not allowed to enter into temples. For the awareness, this is a permanent disability. When it comes to mobility, it denies mobility. The avenues for mobility in a caste system is less. So it is generally considered to be a closed system. Your position in the hierarchy is on the basis of your birth. So it is hereditary and you cannot change it. So because of that, mobility is restricted. But no system can be completely closed. At different points of time, there have been different avenues for mobility. So limited amount of mobility was always there. For example, M. N. Srinivas, he talks about Sanskritization. It is a way by which people who are in the intermediary caste, they were able to change their position in the hierarchy. They used to emulate the position of the higher caste. Also, one of the preconditions for moving up the hierarchy was you need to improve on the secular hierarchy. You need to access education, wealth or power. After that, you can emulate and you can improve your position. And another way of mobility was westernization. Those who were at the bottom of the hierarchy, for them Sanskritization might not work. For them, westernization can work. So some amount of mobility did exist, but by and large, it was a closed system. It is a segmental organization. Society is divided into segments. It is divided into caste. Again, the caste will be divided into smaller subdivisions. So segmental organization, segmental division of society. Your caste status is decided on the basis of your birth. Once you are born in a particular caste, you are in that caste. You cannot change your position. You cannot move from one caste to another. So it is obtained at birth, cannot be changed. So these are some common features of the caste system. Now the next question here is, why caste system is called a system? Why can't we say it is caste? Why are we using the term system for it? Why is caste called a system? What are the components of the system? And what is the present status of the system? Are all the subcategories, subparts of the system working the same way as they used to work in the past? Now, why are we calling it system? Just think about it. When do we use the term system? Now, system is generally referred to those organizations. It is referred to those set of things which have parts. These parts are interconnected. There are different rules and regulations, principles which govern the system. If you look at caste, the entire mechanism here, it is a system. It has different smaller parts. And again, these parts are governed by certain principles. They're governed by certain procedures. Certain rules and regulations are there which is governing the functioning of these parts. That is the reason we are calling it a system. So whenever we should view caste, we should look at it from this perspective. Caste is a system. It is a system which consists of interconnected parts. And there are different mechanisms which are regulated. Some of you might be from engineering background. So control systems, what control systems is, try to relate it with caste. You might have a better understanding. So when we say caste as a system, we are basically referring to the network of interdependent parts. So in caste system, there are small parts, it forms a network and they are all interdependent. Caste is localized in character. In a particular village, a caste will operate in a particular manner. If you go to another place, the caste will operate in different manners. So it has a localized character. In each village, there will be a number of mutually exclusive castes. These castes, they're referred to as the jatis. They're on the basis of hereditary principle, on the basis of endogamy. So if you go to a village, you will find multiple castes. And they're mutually exclusive. If you are part of this caste, you are not part of this caste. So you will be part of only one caste. They're endogamous. Marriages within caste will not happen. Marriages within the same caste will happen. A person who is in caste A will not marry who is in caste C. A person who is in caste A will marry someone who is in caste A itself. So endogamy is there. Membership to this particular jati is on the basis of birth. And they're all mutually exclusive. And they will form a system here. There will be some sort of interaction between these systems. For example, let's say caste A, it has certain occupation. For example, barber or washerman. This caste, let's say this is the caste B. Now B's occupation may be different. For example, they are the cultivated caste. Now, caste B will provide the different food grains to caste A. A in return will provide different kind of services. Let's say washing. Washing of clothes is a service. So exchange of goods and services is taking place. So there is some sort of network here. So that is the reason we are calling caste as a system. System in which you have parts. There is interdependence between the parts. When we say caste is a system, we can also look at it as a system which is a system of stratification, which is also a political system, which is also an economic system, which is also a kinship system. So caste is all these things at one time. It is a system of stratification, it is a system of kinship, it is a system of politics, it's a political system. It is also an economic system. All these things together. How is caste a system of stratification? How it is a kinship system? How it is a political system? And how it is an economic system? We will look at all these things one by one. So how it is a system of stratification. Now, when it comes to caste, one of the fundamental elements of caste is hierarchy. There are two kinds of hierarchy. One is ritual hierarchy, another is secular hierarchy. So if you look at any village, so the castes will be arranged in terms of ritual hierarchy, they will also be arranged in terms of secular hierarchy. What do we mean by ritual hierarchy? Ritual hierarchy means on the basis of pollution and purity. Certain castes will be considered purer, certain castes will be considered polluted. And there is a hierarchy in that. Brahmins will be considered purer as compared to the untouchables. So this is relative purity. Castes are ranked on the basis of relative purity. On their own, one caste will not be pure or impure, but one particular caste will be considered purer as compared to other caste. This ritual dimension plays a very important role when it comes to exchange of food, water, in times of marriage as well. Now, another kind of hierarchy also exists. The hierarchy along the secular dimension. For example, some castes might be holding more amount of land. They might be holding more amount of wealth. Certain castes might be closer to the political structures. They might hold more power. Certain castes might be numerically stronger. So, if you are arranging caste in this hierarchy, for example, if you are arranging it as per wealth, so that hierarchy is called secular hierarchy. If you are arranging caste on the basis of power, that hierarchy is called secular hierarchy. So, two kinds of hierarchy exist. One is the ritual hierarchy, and another is the secular hierarchy. Now, why is this important? Now, sometimes there can be castes who are at the top when it comes to ritual hierarchy, but they will not be at the top when it comes to secular hierarchy. For example, Brahmins, they will be top when it comes to the ritual hierarchy. They will be considered the purest. So they will not be the wealthiest. They might not have maximum amount of power. The Vaishyas might be the wealthiest. The Kshatriyas might be the most powerful. So the ritual hierarchy and the secular hierarchy might not overlap. The dominant castes, as per M. Srinivas, they are the ones who will be at the top when it comes to the secular hierarchy. But when it comes to the ritual hierarchy, they will not be at the top. But one thing you keep in mind, sometimes these things can also overlap. The Brahmins in a particular locality can also be the landowning caste. So sometimes overlap is there, sometimes overlap might not be there. System of stratification along both these dimensions. Now, what about mobility? Is mobility possible in this particular kind of stratification? Now, traditionally, it is said that caste system is a closed system. Entry into the system is on the basis of birth. Once you are born in a particular caste, you will be part of that caste. You cannot change it. Apart from that, endogamy is there. You are married within the same caste. Had you been married in a different caste, your position in the hierarchy would have changed. Let's say if a female is marrying someone from the higher caste, then her position is changing now. But generally, there was endogamy. So that is also restricting mobility. Apart from that, the cultural systems, the cultural values, they are also putting a check on mobility. The underlying notion, cultural notion is karma theory. Karma theory is the underlying notion behind caste system. Now, what is karma theory saying? Karma theory is saying that whichever caste you are born into right now, it is because of your past life, whatever you have done in the past life. If you did well, you would have born as a Brahmin. If you did not do well, you would have born as an untouchable. So, karma theory also tries to justify your position in the hierarchy. People are also not questioning it. They are not questioning the existing system. They feel that it is justified wherever they are. Karma theory also says that if you do well in your present caste, whichever caste you are born in, whatever duty has been given as per the caste, if you carry those duties with devotion, maybe in next life you will be born in a better class, or you will be provided a better position. So people also work in the same caste. People, whatever duties are assigned to that particular caste, they will carry it out. They will not question it. So karma theory also restricts mobility because people believe in karma theory. It's basically a mechanism by which you are culturally conditioned not to question the caste system. So traditionally it is a closed system, but at different points of time there have been means by which you can improve your position in the hierarchy. Mobility was present at different points of time. M. Srinivas, for example, talks about sensitization. This is one mechanism by which you can change your position in the hierarchy. Once you have acquired wealth, power, once you have improved your position in the secular hierarchy, over a period of time, you can change your position in the ritual hierarchy as well. You have to emulate the lifestyle of the higher caste. And that way, over generations, your position in the ritual hierarchy also changes. And keep one thing in mind, this does not happen overnight, it takes generations, and it is kind of a corporate mobility. The entire caste position changes of the hierarchy. But there are certain preconditions. One precondition is your position should have improved in the secular hierarchy. Another condition is your status and the aspired status, the gap should not be too wide. If you are considered untouchable, sensitization might not work for you. Your present position and the aspired status, there the gap should not be too much. And generally, this is spread over generation, does not take place overnight. But those who are at the bottom of the hierarchy, those who are considered to be the untouchable in the society, for them, is there any option of mobility? Yes, for them also mobility is possible. One mechanism is westernization. One mechanism is Westernization. What is Westernization? Adopting the Western lifestyle, Western language, Western education. All these things are considered to be part of Westernization. So if you are taking up all these things, then your position in the hierarchy will also eventually improve. Now, who are the people generally will go for Westernization? Those who are at the bottom, those who are considered untouchables, or already who are having a higher position. For example, already the twice born caste. They further want to improve their position. For them, Sanskritization is not possible. Who are they going to imitate? So for them, Westernization can also be an avenue which can relatively change their position. They are in a decent position, it can further improve. So this is about mobility. This is about how caste system is also a system of stratification. How caste system is an economic system. Caste system is also an economic system. Caste used to determine the production, consumption, exchange of services. In villages, there used to be certain castes which will be the jajman. There will be certain castes who will be considered as kamins. The kamins will provide different kind of services to the jajmans. Generally, the jajmans will be the cultivator caste. They will provide them food grains in return. So in villages, jajmani system, the part of caste system used to determine who is going to produce what, how these produce are going to be distributed, exchanged. So caste also played a very important role in the economy of the people. And it also functioned in a manner so that the purity will also be preserved. That we have already discussed, Ludomo's concept. Caste also was a political system. Caste system is a political system. Now, how caste system is a political system? Now, in villages, there will be village councils. Generally, it will consist of members who are from the dominant caste. They will try to resolve the disputes in the village. The inter-caste disputes was resolved by the village councils, which generally consisted of members from the dominant caste. Apart from that, there will be jati panchayats. The inter-caste matters was resolved by jati panchayats. So, within the same caste, if there is an issue, it is jati panchayat. Between two different castes, if there is an issue, it will be the village councils. So, caste also played a very important part when it comes to the political matters, when it comes to dispute resolution. Caste is also a kinship system. Caste endogamy was there. So all your relatives will be from the same caste. All your relatives, all your blood relations will be from the same caste because of prevalence of caste endogamy. Caste is a system of stratification. Caste is also an economic system. Caste is a political as well as kinship system. Now the question here is, caste as these kind of systems, has it remained the same or is it changing? Caste as a system of stratification, is it undergoing a change? Caste as an economic system, is it the same? Is Jajmani system still relevant? Caste as a political system, caste as a mechanism to resolve disputes, has it remained the same or is it changing? Kinship system, is it same or is it changing? So when it comes to the system of stratification, there have been changes here. But the ritual dimension of hierarchy, that is no longer relevant. Significance of ritual hierarchy, it is gradually becoming less important. All this pollution, purity, they are no longer relevant. What is more important is the secular dimension. Wealth and power, they are more important now. Wealth is becoming a status symbol now. What kind of car you own, what kind of society you stay in, they are more relevant rather than you are being a Brahmin or you are being a Kshatriya or a Shudra. So caste as a hierarchy is now becoming less important. But now also caste differences exist. That is there. Caste hierarchy might not have been there, but caste as a difference is there. You know that this person is from this caste. It has not completely been eradicated. But a couple of things here as well. When you look at the upper classes, that means if you look at those sections of the population who are rich, there will be an overlap between upper class and upper caste. Similarly, if you look at the lower classes, there also is an overlap. Generally, people from the lower caste, they will also be in the lower classes. So completely things have not changed. There is an overlap here. But it is difficult to sustain all this pollution purity in urban areas. In rural areas, pollution purity still exists. The stratification can be there. In urban areas, because of modern means of transport, communication, factories, all these things are not possible. So it has become unsustainable. In rural areas, to some extent, it exists. So there have been some studies related to understanding the role of caste as a system of stratification in recent times. There have been some comparative studies as well. So we'll look at those perspectives. Now, Adrian Mayer studied the village Ramkheli in Madhya Pradesh. So Adrian Mayer studied it in 1950s, and also studied it in 1990s. There was a marked difference. In 1950s, in case there is any such social function, there is any community fest, the people over there, people who are part of the society, they will not sit together. The higher caste will sit somewhere else, the lower caste will sit somewhere else. But the same village in 1990s was observed. Here, now they are sitting in the same row. But yes, some distance can be maintained, but people are by and large sitting together, all the castes. But still, the lower caste and higher caste, they will maintain some distance. There will be a gap. Previously, they were not even sitting together. Similar kind of findings have been there in Karnataka. Gopal Karan finds out that those who are the land-owning Okalikas, they are also asking their servants, who are Dalits, they're asking their servants to pick up savories, pick up other food items. Previously, it might have been unthinkable because when Dalits are touching the food savories, then it is becoming polluted. That was the underlying notion. But now they are asking them to collect the food, they are asking them to collect the savories. So, ritual hierarchy over a period of time has definitely become less important. And since ritual hierarchy is becoming less important, so Sanskritization will also be less important because Sanskritization, you are just moving up the ritual hierarchy. In recent times, access to education has become easier. And also, for those who are considered to be untouchables, now they are getting some benefits. The state is also providing the benefits. Scheduled caste, they get reservation in education institutions. For them, access to education is comparatively easier now. So you are trying to improve your position in secular hierarchy. Education is one of those mechanisms by which you can improve your position in the secular hierarchy, since ritual hierarchy is not that important now. Apart from that, at present, another thing is also observed. If you are having inferior caste status, it might be easier for you to access power as well. For example, there are reservations at the level of parliament, there are reservations in the state legislature as well. So if you are having inferior caste status, that means if you are scheduled caste, in that case, you are also having reservations, some number of fixed seats are full. So that is also there. So access to power, access to education has become comparatively simpler. That is the reason some members of those who are considered to be traditionally lower caste, they are also moving up the secular hierarchy. And anyways, ritual dimension is becoming less significant. What about caste as an economic system? Does it exist any longer? Now, the village economy has become integrated with the urban economy. And in urban economy, it is the market forces which dominate. So market forces, economic forces are playing a very important role. They are the ones who are deciding who is going to produce, who is going to consume. They are the ones who are deciding the distribution. So producer, consumer, all these things, now it has been taken over by the market. The laws of demand and supply, they have taken over. So caste as an economic system has lost its relevance. There is no longer localized production. Production is taking place somewhere else. Now you are part of the markets, you procure it. So production and consumption, they have been separated as well. So occupation, caste, the association that was there, the consistency that was there, it has been broken down. Market forces have played this role. What about political system? Is caste a relevant system of politics now? Just think about the past. In the past, only from certain castes. If you are part of only certain castes, then only you will be able to hold on to political positions, Satriyas, for example. But all these things are no longer relevant. Now you have universal adult franchise. Anyone can vote in the elections. Anyone can stand for the elections, provided she fulfills the basic criteria, age and other restrictions. So that has been broken down. We have an independent judiciary. So for dispute resolution, for maintaining law and order, we have different state institutions. So all these things are not much relevant. Caste is no longer relevant when it comes to politics. But one dimension here is there. Sometimes those who are the inferior castes, they might have an upper hand now because they might get reservation. Apart from that, there can be some castes who are numerically stronger in a particular locality, so they can benefit. Numerically stronger, we are having a democracy. Democracy is the rule of majority. They might have a greater say in the local politics. Apart from that, there can be some castes who might be good at making alliances, so they are also at an advantage. Another thing has been observed is many castes, they are again getting divided now. Within castes, there are different interests. There can be formation of different factions. So that is also something which is observed, and different factions will now align with different political parties. So caste system, there has been different kind of changes. Universal adult franchise democracy has ensured that each and every person has the same politics. It is no longer dominated by only one caste. But some castes who are numerically stronger, some castes which can form alliances, they are at an advantage. Caste is also breaking down into factions. When it comes to kinship system, what has been the change? Is caste still a relevant system of kinship? Now, caste as a kinship system has more or less remained intact. Now also marriages are taking place on the basis of caste. In village areas, it is quite predominant. In urban areas, things might be changing, but not very rapid change, not massive changes. Just think about it. All your matrimonial websites, they're the prospects. They're all arranged on the basis of caste. English newspapers, Sunday Times, Matrimonial, also you will have segregation on the basis of caste. Who are the people who read newspapers? Who are the people who are subscribing to these websites? Generally, the people who are educated, who are digitally literate. So among the urban middle class also, caste endogamy is prevalent. Some change might be there, but not complete massive overall. So caste as a kinship system is still relevant. Economic system, it has gone down. Stratification, ritual hierarchy, dimensions have declined. Political system, multiple changes are taking place. So caste as a system, what can we conclude now? Where are we moving? What is the direction? Now it is said that caste in recent times has adopted more of an instrumental and expressive role. Wherever there is a requirement of caste, you are using caste. For example, there is formation of caste associations, which are trying to protect the interests of the caste. There have been emergence of caste-based schools, caste-based colleges, caste-based hospitals. So some instrumental role is there. In case they feel deprived, they feel there is some sort of discrimination against them, they're also expressive about it. They're raising those voices. So caste is also taking up these roles, instrumental and expressive roles. Caste has become a basis for protective discrimination. The Constitution provides reservation on the basis of caste. So it is a mechanism through which positive discrimination is carried out, affirmative action is carried out. It has been criticized that because of caste being a factor for positive discrimination, there is also emergence of caste consciousness. If you could have used some other mechanism for ensuring affirmative action, this thing might not have happened. But now, since positive discrimination is only on the basis of caste, majorly on the basis of caste, so caste consciousness has not become weaker. It has remained intact, might have become stronger over a period of time. Use of caste in politics has also increased. The party system that we have, it has gradually become weaker. So since party system is becoming weaker, this role, the role of political mobilization, the significance of caste in political mobilization has increased over a period of time. So political system, party system has declined. Caste's role in politics has improved over a period of time. So these are the changes that are taking place when it comes to caste system. So what we can say is, caste as a system has broken, but caste consciousness persists. Caste as a system of stratification has become less significant. Ritual hierarchy is less significant. Caste as an economic system has completely been dismantled. Most it has been dismantled. Caste as a political system, that has also changed. Kinship system, yes, it is intact. But by and large, if you look at it, caste as a system is not that relevant at present. But caste consciousness exists. Caste is used for politics. Caste is also used for positive discrimination. Caste also has its own instrumental and expressive role. Because of this thing, caste consciousness does exist. So these are the features of caste system. This sums up our discussion on features of caste system. Caste system, what are the common features? Keep that in mind. What have some thinkers specifically talked about? And how caste is a system. Understanding this is important. Why we are referring to caste as a system, and how caste is playing the role of an economic system, political system, kinship system, system of stratification. What are the changes along these dimensions? In exam, they generally ask you these kind of things. Whether caste as a political system is effective, is relevant or not in present times. In your syllabus, you will also be reading about politics. In section C, you have a specific chapter on politics. So sometimes what they will do, they will link politics and they will link caste. They will link democracy, they will link caste. They will link elite, political, social elite is part of your syllabus. So they will link that and they will link caste. So if you understand these basic features, you can apply it over there as well. So understanding the concepts, having conceptual clarity is very important. It can be applied anywhere. So this is about features of caste system. Thank you.